Hi there, welcome back to Jen's Movies of the Week. This week I'm going to talk about two topics. First, I'm going to share with you a dystopian children's film I used to watch all the time in the 80s that is currently streaming on Tubi. And then I'm going to tell you my opinion of the three most recent Halloween films co-written and directed by David Gordon Green. So stay tuned for that if you're a Halloween fan. And otherwise, here, I'm going to sort of tell you about this movie, and if you're a Gen X kid like myself, or if you're into 80s movies, like obscure ones, maybe you'll guess it before I tell you the title. So, it's a post apocalyptic movie, but it's a kids' movie. Like the whole cast is teens and kids. There is a glowing orb in the movie that is like a main character, sort of. And in the movie, all the kids, for some reason, get around on roller skates. Not even roller blades, roller skates, even though they're living in a strange desert environment. Okay, if you haven't guessed it now, you're not going to get it. It is called Solarbabies, currently streaming on Tubi. And it was playing, I don't know, on the local TV affiliate like all the time when I was a kid. And I loved roller skating, so I would always watch it. I would be really into it. It came out in 1986, but I would have sworn it came out much earlier, and it has the feeling of a movie that came out maybe a few years earlier. Funny enough, Jamie Gertz and Jason Patrick play love interests in this movie, and if you're a student of 80s films, you'll know that they were together in The Lost Boys a year later. So it could make kind of a weird double feature with The Lost Boys. It also has Lucas Haas, who you may know as the kid from Witness, and he's the one who discovers the glowing orb. Okay, so they're in this post-apocalyptic society, and they're living in this like orphanage for kids. I don't know like what's going on. Like the purpose of this orphanage is unclear. All we know is there's an authoritarian state called the E Protectorate, and they have the E Police, and they're hoarding all the water. And I think these kids are being trained to like maybe work for the government someday, but it's kind of unclear. Like in the meantime, like they're playing games on roller skates against other evil teams, and it's a whole thing. And you think the whole movie is going to have a lot more to do with the roller skate games, but eventually becomes more the plot is like they're chasing the orb across kind of the wasteland and hoping to find a new home. So it's like very Mad Max adjacent, okay? Anyway, I can't say that like I per se recommend this movie, but at the same time I had a lot of fun with it, like both for nostalgia from remembering when I was a kid and just because 80s kids movies were so chaotic, okay? Like the weirdest stuff will happen and you just never know what's going to happen next. Let's see. This movie, like the orb, first of all, is interesting. Like it's a glowing orb and it has like magic powers. Its name is Bodai for some reason. Um, like there's some sort of indication that it may save the world, which is not a spoiler because this is at the beginning of the movie. Let's see, what else can I tell you about the movie? There's all kinds of weird cultural appropriation where like white people are playing people who look vaguely indigenous or like vaguely like nomadic peoples. You don't really know like where this is taking place in the post-apocalyptic environment because like there's people from lots of different cultures and like lots of British people are there to play villains because in the 80s you had a lot of British villains. Maybe it was a hangover from Star Wars. One of the villains, I will tell you, is played by the woman who's one of the enemies in Superman 2. So that was super exciting when she showed up. Yeah, if you're into like 80s movies like and weirdness and just collecting all of it, definitely check out Solarbabies on Tubi. I don't think my husband was sorry to have finally seen it. I mean, he didn't think it was a masterpiece or anything, but we had an enjoyable night. Oh yeah, and the other funny thing I'll tell you about this. So this place is called the E Protectorate, and they have the E Police, but they never tell you what the E stands for. But my husband and I decided that since there's like really like ugly security vehicles that sort of resemble like cyber trucks, we decided it stood for Elon. And this movie is actually a warning about our immediate future. So be warned. Like we're going to end up in the Solarbabies world pretty soon if we let all those data centers come in and steal our water. All right. So moving on, I'm going to talk about the David Gordon Green Halloween films. And the first film, I'm not going to give too many spoilers about what happens at the end or anything, but if you keep listening after that to the second and the third film, you will inevitably get spoilers for the previous film. So cut yourself off if you at some point have not seen the next film, if you don't want spoilers. Okay, so first of all, I rewatched Halloween from 2018. And I remember liking Halloween from 2018 when I first saw it, and I liked it again when I saw it this time. I thought the idea of making Jamie Lee Curtis's character kind of this prepper who's like organized her life around protecting herself and her family from Michael Myers was really smart. I thought like that whole setup made sense. They do retcon the 1998 movies, which I talked about in a previous episode, which I'll link at the end of this video. So instead of having a son, she had a daughter, and then her daughter had a granddaughter. So she has a family, but it's a different family. But I like the whole like character exploration they do with her, with Jamie Lee Curtis, with her daughter's played by Judy Greer. Can't remember the granddaughter's actress name right now, but they all do a great job. And yeah, the opening with Michael Myers, like if you're a person who's sensitive to this type of thing, it is a bit ableist the way they are portraying mental facility, a mental health facility. Okay, like it's a very weird setup, weird idea of what people with mental illnesses would behave like, you know. So I can't recommend that aspect of it. It's playing mental illness for scares and horror, which I don't love, but I did think like the way that they set up Michael kind of escaping and Michael going after these true crime podcasters that have come to visit him was very compelling. And then the eventual confrontations Michael has with other people are compelling too, because they actually set up characters that you care about in this movie. Okay, there's a babysitter character, a new babysitter character that I actually did care about, and the child that she was watching. So I gave this 4 stars on Letterboxd. I definitely think it was worth watching again. But unfortunately, I cannot actually say that so much about the sequels. So this is where you need to tune out if you haven't seen the sequel and you don't want to be spoiled. So the first sequel was from 2021, Halloween Kills. Okay, in Halloween Kills, they have the action taking place like the very next day. Michael seemed like he was dead in the first one, but of course we know how this goes in a slasher movie. He's not. Okay. And Laurie's being taken to the hospital. Laurie Strode, with her daughter and her granddaughter, are there with her. And this movie, I think it was a case of too many ideas. So this movie sets up like two kind of main themes, and neither of them really involve Laurie Strode that much. One of the themes is they bring back survivors from previous Halloween movies, like what happened to the kids who were being babysat the night of the 1978 Halloween? What happened to like other babysitters, like our a nurse that was present at the time? So that's kind of an interesting idea. I like that. They have like a survivors group. I don't think Anthony Michael Hall is necessarily the best actor to anchor that whole storyline. I'm sorry, Anthony Michael Hall, but the acting didn't really do much for me there. But granted, the writing wasn't great in this movie either, so like, you know, what can you do? You can only do so much with that. In any case though, the survivor thing could have been good, but it didn't quite gel. And then on the second hand, they have this idea that Haddonfield, the citizens of Haddonfield, can easily be turned to mob justice, and that mob justice can go wrong and end up victimizing the wrong people and causing chaos. And that was an interesting theme too. And I think the filmmakers seemed more interested in that theme. But because it's going on concurrent with this other survivors theme, everything just felt really scattered in this movie. Like there wasn't really like one protagonist, and the editing was kind of confusing at times. Like you just, I don't know, it kind of fell apart to me. It felt messy. So I wish they had made this into like maybe two different films and like had put more thought into each one of them. Plus, like characters kept doing stupid things. And this is like a pet peeve of mine with slasher films. Like the better slasher film, the smarter the characters are, the better a slasher film is, in my opinion. Like, or like in a Friday the 13th movie, sometimes they're not the smartest, but like they don't get killed because they were doing stupid things. They get killed because they had no idea there was a killer there. Okay, that's fine too. But if you know there's a killer and you start doing stupid things, that kind of takes me out of the movie at a certain point. I'm like, the people who are the survivor group are like, we need to stick together. And then what do? They split up. I mean, we're in a post Scream, post Cabin of the Woods horror environment here. We should be able to like avoid those cliches and find more compelling ways for people to be killed by a slasher. That's all I'm saying. Okay, So yeah, basically Halloween Kills. I see what it was going for. I think it could have been great, maybe as two different movies. Didn't work for me. All right, so now if you don't want spoilers for Halloween Ends, you want to cut yourself off now. All right, so Halloween Ends is in from 2022. And the opening of this one was very promising. Okay, we're introducing a new character. His name is Corey. He's babysitting for a kid, and the kid dies. Okay, that's not too much of a spoiler. Um, just know that he's set up then to be like suspected of murdering this kid, and the town hates him. Okay, and he's dealing with being bullied. He had big plans for the future that don't work out, and yeah, you really care about this guy. Okay, and then like right near the beginning of the movie, he ends up in this like sewer tunnel, and he meets Michael, and something happens in this sewer tunnel. Okay, and we don't really know. And this is where, if you don't want to be spoiled, you're still listening and you don't want to be spoiled to what happens in the rest of the movie, cut yourself off. So like either Michael like possesses him somehow, or Corey is just evil to begin with, and he just decides he's gonna like work with Michael. As like my husband was saying, this movie should be called Halloween the Intern, because it's like he's working an unpaid internship for Michael Myers for the rest of the movie. Yeah. Like if he's possessed by Michael, I think I could go with that, and I think that would be pretty cool. But I just don't buy him being like that bad that he's going to start becoming a slasher killer all of a sudden. No, I don't buy it. So, but I wish they had made it clear like what was actually going on. Like if they'd made it clear that he was possessed in some way, I would have really liked the movie. But they really just didn't make the effort to explain what was happening. So yeah, like the other things I didn't really like about the movie, the character motivations from Laurie Strode and from her granddaughter don't make sense. Okay, you're telling me that you spent your whole life prepping, in case Michael came back, and now that you know Michael's out there, like he's not in prison anymore, he's just out there. You don't know what happened to him. Now you're gonna like live in a house with like no protection whatsoever and just like write a little memoir or something? Makes no sense. And then the granddaughter, who like was very like cautious about like the people she dated initially before all this happened, now she's going to be like into dating Corey, like after he's displaying some really dubious behavior and potentially violent behavior. I don't buy it. They just made the characters seem not like themselves, and that's how you get bought into these movies in my opinion, is by identifying with characters. And I couldn't identify with Corey because I didn't know what his deal was. I couldn't identify with Lori and her granddaughter because their motivations made no sense anymore. And that pretty much kills the movie right there, like dead in its tracks. Michael didn't even have to do the work for us. Like, I think maybe if they'd done something with like where the granddaughter was dealing with trauma because her parents died in the last movie, like that might make sense, right? Like she's dealing with so much trauma that now she's making like super reckless decisions. But really it seems like she didn't get a promotion at work, and so now she doesn't give a fuck. Makes no sense at all. Okay, so, yeah, my one thought about this is there's this like subplot with Lori and the police chief, who's played by Will Patton, and they're kind of flirting with each other, and he's talking about, oh, we could maybe go to Japan, like that's a first date for you, let's go to Japan. um the only thing I thought was that if they made a sequel called Michael Goes to Japan, then I could buy into this whole thing. It would all be worth it, because we could have like a crazy 80s style like Michael killing people in Japan movie, like more like a Friday the 13th movie. I could get into that. So if you guys want to make me happy, make that movie, that'll be awesome. But other than that, I felt this was a real missed opportunity. And I think there were something like four screenwriters on this movie. Like over many years, I've learned to like be suspicious of movies that list like more than two screenwriters. It starts getting like, oh, I don't know what's happening here. Maybe too many ideas got put in, or we didn't get this sorted out well enough. Anyway, it was disappointing, and I'm sorry, because there was so much good raw material here. Like the idea of like this Corey guy being possessed was so much you could work with, but they just didn't clarify it. Anyway, if you disagree with me, and I know there are many fans of Halloween Ends out there and many fans of Halloween Kills out there, if you disagree, please give me your feedback. I'd love to know what you think about it, where you'd like to see Michael Myers go next, if he goes anywhere. Yeah, leave it in the comments and I will respond. And thanks for joining me again on Jen's Movies of the Week. Next week, I'll be doing my top 5 first time watches of August. So stay tuned for that. And please hit like and subscribe. Bye bye now.